Captain Kyle Smith, and this week I sat down for a morning meeting with San Diego Fire Department Captain Justus Norgord. Justus shares what it takes to run a successful small business in good times and bad, and how investing in your physical well-being parallels your financial well-being. I hope you guys enjoy it.
All right, hey Justus, welcome to the bullpen. Thanks for meeting me.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, same here, man. You have a really interesting story in terms of sort of the side hustles that you've been into over the last several years, but then also more specifically and more sort of presently related to the pandemic. Can you just describe your experience with COVID-19?
Well, yeah, I unfortunately was one of the unlucky ones to get the virus, and it was pretty early on. I got it early March, and it took me down for sure. You know, it initially wasn't too bad, kind of flu-like symptoms, but when it got into my lungs, it became very real to me. And I was off work for maybe about a month. It took a while to shed the virus. It took about over 30 days to actually test negative. 3 weeks into it, I tested and I was still positive. So it takes a while to shed the virus. I don't know exactly where in that time frame I become not,
Contagious.
to where I can pass it on. There's still a lot of unknown questions, but no, it took me down. So I was out of work for about a month, and like I said, I feel like I've recovered, but not completely. Feel that my lungs aren't what they were pre-COVID, and so that's something I'm going to have to deal with moving forward. Is to keep an eye on the lungs and to continue to work the lungs to make sure that the damage to them, doesn't get worse, and try to repair it. So,
gosh, that's a scary thing. For those people that are listening aren't familiar with Justus. Justus is captain on our job, and is widely considered one of the fittest people that we have. And we'll dig more into his background in physical fitness and his first alarm, but when we got that notification, Justus, from that letter that you sent us all, and thank you, by the way, for sending the letter out, outlining your struggle with it and how it impacted you and your family, it really shook a lot of us, knowing that it could, because at that point, so early on in the pandemic, we were only hearing it's affecting elderly folks, people with underlying health conditions. But then when it came back that you had it and it was really knocking you out, I think it made everybody really pause. And I'm happy to hear that you kicked it and you're doing well, but it is concerning that you're still feeling some of those impacts. And what's scary is we don't have data to know exactly where this thing leads. And if you do get it, can you have permanent damage from it? So I definitely have my fingers crossed for you.
well, thank you. And that's really, you bring up a great point, because like my pulmonologist said, that he goes, a lot of people are coining this phrase. Yeah, I had the virus and I've survived, or I've had it and I'm recovered. No one's talking about the long-term effects of this virus. And like the pulmonologist, he's concerned that there's going to be things manifesting down the road. And that's why I'm trying to do everything that I can through my health and wellness and exercise to really work the lungs and try to get a full recovery. But yeah, it'll take down not just those that are vulnerable. It took me down hard. So that was why I wrote that letter, is just to try to get everybody's attention that this is real.
Yeah. No, that was evident from the letter that you received, and just the fact that you took the time to pass that information out to us was just it's a caring act of looking out for your brothers and sisters, and that's really one of the core tenets of the fire services. We do have to look out for each other, and I was reminded, Justus, when you're talking about that, of the folks that worked the pile at 9/11, and they were there just trying to do something. They're trying to help, and some of the long-term effects that they have now with their lungs from being on that pile it's a scary thing. And hopefully everybody gets through it and we come through this thing in one piece. But the message has to be clear that it's a serious thing. It is real, and let's just continue to be diligent in all the ways that we know are effective to sort of flatten the curve. So anyway, but I didn't bring you on here to talk about just that. I want to bring you on here to talk about your the rest of the rest of what makes you you. So you ready to get into your first alarm?
Absolutely.
Right
Yep.
on. Well, cool. So as you will well know, first alarm assignment at the San Diego Fire Department is 4 engines and a truck. But here at the Firehouse, I'll ask you 4 questions. You give us 1 piece of advice. That sound good?
Yep.
Cool. Well, here you go. You're going to be first in on your first alarm. And you know when you're first in, you got to give a size up. So that's who you are, where you work, and how long you've been doing it.
So Justus Norgord. I've been in the fire service since I was 20 years old. I started, I think the year was probably 1991. I did 5 years out in Tucson, Arizona before making my way to San Diego. I came to San Diego in 1997 and kind of worked up through the ranks. I'm currently a captain, assigned to Fire Station 40, which is in Rancho Penasquitos, which is in like the north part of San Diego. It's also a specialty station. We do the ladder repairs. We are a double house. So we have a truck, an engine. We actually have a water tender, a light and air rig, an ambulance, and a utility rig. So a lot of vehicles. Don't want to be an engineer at our station. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. I remember bouncing through as an engineer and feeling pretty overwhelmed. Like, man, I'm responsible for all these things. And it's cool because it keeps you on your toes in a way, but it is a huge responsibility. And let me just apologize up front for all the additional work we give you guys up there in terms of your ladder work from the folks at the academy, because we beat our ladders up down there. But we appreciate all the hard work you guys are doing up there. When you came on the job, did you have any sort of good teachers that were teaching you about either personal finance or financial literacy or anything like that? Did you have a financial background or anything like that?
Good question. So in the early days, early meaning in high school, coming out of high school, no idea. I thought that the ATM machine, whatever it said on my little ticket, that's how much money I had. I didn't take in consideration the 3 or 4 checks that I wrote before that haven't even, applied yet. So I learned the hard way. But I would say, looking back, honestly, the person I learned the most from in regards to finance was my father. And it was kind of, I learned it in a different way. I watched how he handled money, and I did the complete opposite. I loved my father. He's no longer with us, but incredible man. But he wasn't great with money, and he didn't believe in saving money. He was in sales, so some months he having incredible months, so we'd be eating lobster and steak, and the next month we're eating ramen noodles because he couldn't get any sales. And deep down, I thought, this is not right. Shouldn't he be saving some of this money for a rainy day? And so, honestly, seeing how he dealt with his finances, additionally his health, I think that's probably why I'm so into health and wellness, because I don't have one recollection of my father even owning a pair of tennis shoes, let alone, going for a brisk walk or anything. And he died young. So kind of seeing the decisions he made in his life and how they played out made me decide to go a different direction. And so he's pushed me in this other direction to then seek out books. And I would say the majority of my knowledge comes from books and meeting individuals that are successful and picking their brain and just trying to be a sponge. And I don't know where the entrepreneurial spirit comes from, because I do have it. And I don't know if that's something that you're just born with or something you acquire, but I have owned a lot of little businesses over the years, and anybody that knows me well can attest to this. I was always up to something, some kind of multi-level marketing or this or that. I've done, a lot of real estate. We can talk about that. Of course, the business, and even before my CrossFit business, I owned other little businesses, but smaller, window tinting businesses and things like that. So there's something to be said about that entrepreneurial spirit as well.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I wonder how much of that is directly related to what you saw at home. I feel like, people don't usually talk about money at home. It's one of those taboo subjects that people don't feel comfortable passing down to their own kids. And so you're kind of left to figure it out on your own if you don't have a real strong mentor. And it sounds to me like what I'm hearing is, you saw the ups and downs, and that wasn't maybe that that didn't entice you into sales. And so part of that maybe led you into a more secure financial picture with the fire service. But then on the other side of that is you have the entrepreneurial spirit where you want to open your own business. You want to run your own business. You want to sort of create your own schedule, your own lifestyle. Can you just touch upon the most recent business that you were involved in?
Yeah, the most recent business that I was involved in was a fitness facility, basically CrossFit gym. It was back in 2007 that I was actually currently assigned at Fire Station 33, which is in Rancho Bernardo, also in the north end of San Diego. And while doing an exercise there, I hadn't heard of CrossFit, but I was tired of the typical workout, the back and buys, chest and tries kind of stuff. So I was already trying to come up with creative workouts. And I remember I had created a workout that day, and there was an individual, I wish I could remember who it was, but it was an EMT in our ambulance, came in and watched me for a few moments and said, "Oh, you're doing CrossFit." And I go, "Doing what? What is CrossFit?" And man, so ever since that, I went online that night, pulled up CrossFit.com, started doing the research, and thought, this looks pretty cool. At the same time, literally just a couple weeks after hearing about CrossFit, I was invited to a level 1 certification. The level 1 certifications cost $1,000, and I was invited to go for free because I was on the San Diego SWAT team, and they had all the SWAT team members come through. And so now here I am. I've only heard about CrossFit a couple of weeks, and here I am meeting, Greg Glassman, the creator of CrossFit. I'm getting to meet, all the people that started it, and I was like, I'm gonna like this. But it wasn't until one of the breaks that I realized that this could be a business. So throughout the day, it was a 2-day certification, and during the days we'd get breaks, and I'd be out talking to individuals and quickly realizing people had traveled from all over the country, even around the world at the time, to come get this certification. And that kind of made me even more interested. And then as we talked, I'm like, why? Well, because I'm going to go back to my hometown and start a business. And I'm like, wow, this could be a business. So I had never thought of it as a business model until that time. And obviously, like you'd mentioned, the fire service, and in some of your previous videos and interviews with individuals, we talk about that side hustle or that second job, a second career. And, we are blessed to have a schedule that allows us to do other things. And so I think I've always looked for other things. And this was just a perfect fit because, I was into fitness. I love helping individuals better themselves. And the fact that I could actually do it as a business, I was super excited. So jumped through some hoops. And in 2008, I affiliated through CrossFit HQ, filled out some paperwork, paid them a little bit of money. And now I was an official affiliate. I believe I was like the 500th affiliate. So I thought I was getting into the game late. Little did I know I was one of the early ones, because now they're in I don't even know what number. They're worldwide. And in the early days, no one even heard of CrossFit. When I was trying to build my business, I'd go around saying, hey, I'm in a CrossFit gym, and no one even heard of it. But now most people are familiar with it. So that's kind of how it got started. Just getting invited and just got hooked.
Yeah. Yeah. And taking the jump, right? I mean, you at some point you have to jump. You can't, it's not enough to just learn about CrossFit. It's not enough to just do it yourself. No, you went and took the leap. What is dawning on me though, listening to the story, is number one, I want to know how that story ends. Is it still continuing? Are you still the owner of the CrossFit gym? Number one. But number two, opening a gym in 2007, 2008, right as the economy is about to tank, could not have been, and I'm speculating, could not have been a more difficult time to do it. And so I'm wondering if somebody's listening to this today thinking about starting a small business, are there any parallels that you're recognizing that they should watch out for?
Absolutely. Yeah. I do remember when I decided to start the business, and I would share my information with other people, and they're like, are you crazy? I mean, we're in this is a down economy, man. We're hitting rock bottom. And the way I looked at it was, if I could build a business in a down economy, then I could build a business in any economy. I can only get better. So there was no pressure there. There was no pressure. And I think that really helped. Um, yeah, it was more challenging. I mean, I literally had members that were homeless that were still paying me $150 a month for their gym membership because it was the one thing that they could still hang on to is their physical health, which led to mental health. So I had members that literally were challenged with their physical, I mean, with the financial problems of 07, 08, but they didn't want to give that up. It's challenging, but it can only get better. And it did only get better. You know, the economy started to come back, CrossFit started to grow. Right now, a phenomenal time? Probably not as much, you know, and here's why. Because at least with me during 07, 08, I didn't have the restrictions of being shut down and being told that I can only allow so many in, or, you know, all those restrictions. Um, I honestly, me personally, I'm kind of grateful that, you know, you know, just a couple years ago, I did sell the business and I also unloaded all of my properties, because I'll tell you what, if I still own that business and if I still had all those properties, I'd be hurting right now. It'd be challenging times for sure. Does
Yeah.
that mean don't start it now? I still think, you know, any time is a good time, you know, but you got to understand what's going on in the world and you got to have a plan.
No, that's 100% true. And what I'm hearing you say is, it's like, I love that piece about, if I can make this work in a downturn, I can survive this. It's only up from here. And that rings so true to me in the real estate investing world. Like, and I talked to Jay Hobson about something very similar on a recent morning meeting that I'll link here. He was saying, you know, it's that old Warren Buffett thing: be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy. If you can find a property in a down market when everybody else is too scared to invest, but the numbers still make sense, if you can make it last, and you can continue on and ride that wave up, you're going to be in so much better shape. And it sounds like that's exactly what you did. You invested in the business in a down market, rode it all the way up. You were able to survive because of the benefits of the health, the mental health, and all that. And you were able to then sell it on the back end. It sounds like you just nailed that thing.
Well, here's one of the things I feel absolutely blessed, because I look back at almost the decade that I ran that business, and it was with many challenges for sure to build a business. And a goal in any business, I believe, is to build the business. But the bigger my business got, the more challenging it got, the more expensive it got, you know, the more employees that I had, the more, you know, so it's kind of it's a hard thing, you know, because with growth comes challenges. And so you got to be ready for that. And I wasn't ready for that. I ended up hiring a business coach, and that helped tremendously. I mean, well worth the money. Um, but yeah, but here's the number one thing that I really want to express to people that I think is super valuable, that I've got a lot of takeaways from my experience in owning this business. But one of the biggest takeaways, because I have good friends that started businesses about the same time as me, and also in the same industry, fitness business. One was a kettlebell instructor, and another one, a few others actually were CrossFit gym owners. And they built their businesses to be pretty successful, meaning they had a lot of members, they were making good money. But when it was time that they wanted to sell, they couldn't sell their business. And this is the difference between them and me. I had systems in place. I had good numbers. I had good records. I had everything, because when somebody comes in and wants to buy your business for a lot of money, you don't want to just say, oh yeah, we're good, we're doing great. No, they want to see the numbers. And I had never been through that process before. I had never hired an agent to sell a business. I had never hired a company to give me the value of my business. And I quickly realized that it was very intense, very involved. It took months and months and months to go through this process. And because all the numbers were there, that's why I was able to sell it. So I do feel very blessed that I was able to build a business, enjoy helping all these individuals over the years. But then at the very end, unlike my other friends that I'd mentioned, they ended up just shutting the doors. I luckily was able to sell. And so, and I attribute that to having good records and good systems in place, and being organized.
Yeah, no, and you said lucky. I'm not thinking that's luck at all. It sounds to me like you knew what the end was supposed to look like, and you planned for that and backtracked and took the steps it necessary to get there, like having your systems, like having all your documentation lined up, so that when it was time to sell, you could just turn this thing over to the next investor and let them run with it. Just absolutely love that.
No, always build the business with the mindset that you're going to sell it. That way, if something does change and you do want to sell it, you're ready to go. So always do that with whatever business you're doing. Build it with the mindset, and you'll do a lot better.
Oh, that's perfect. There's a great book called The E-Myth, and it talks exactly about that. If you are going to build a business, have it basically plan it so that it could be franchised out, that you have everything so dialed in that it could be franchised out. And that way, when it is time to sell, you're ready to go. Or on the other side, if you still like it, you're still enjoying, you're still making money, you can continue going. It hasn't cost you anything. That's just perfect. So I guess my follow-up question to that is, or the next question in your first alarm was going to be, what the best investment is that you ever made?
That's a no-brainer. The best investment I ever made was my wife, for sure. I've been with her now 30 years, and she was the best investment. Pretty expensive, but well worth it. Her support of all my ventures, all of my ideas, because I have way more ideas than I have ventures. She's amazing. She supported me throughout all those years with that business. So she is by far the best investment I ever made. Above all. And now, as far as my business ventures, I guess you could say, I would say, the CrossFit gym was definitely very good for me. It was good for me, but I'm a firm believer in long term. So my best investment is the stuff that I've been doing long term. That slow and steady growth over time, that dedication to investing has probably been my biggest benefit. And I've ridden many markets over the years, up and down, but I don't panic. I stay consistent, and it's that consistency and that compound interest that's going to pay dividends for me in the long run. And that's what I'm going to continue to do. My next venture that I'm going to be starting soon is going to be back in real estate. I'm going to be doing more real estate investing, and I hope to make a lot of money, but I'm going to continue to keep all the other long-term stuff just going. So
yeah, that's perfect.
Hopefully I answered the question.
No, yeah, 100%. And it dawns on me that we're talking about fitness in a financial literacy podcast, but there are so many parallels in terms of the long-term benefits of paying attention to your fitness. Not, same thing with compounding interest in the stock market or in your savings or whatever vehicle you're using, but the same applies in fitness. Like it's one thing if you want to go get a really hard workout, you're trying to lose weight. Let's say it's January 1st and that's your New Year's resolution. You can go and work out super hard one day. It's not going to really do anything. But if you are putting in the time consistently over several months, several years, you'll reap the benefits. Your body will literally change, and you're going to continue to get those dividends long term. But if you're not in it for the long haul, you're not going to get any of the real long term benefits that a healthy lifestyle will give you. It's the same exact thing in investing. If you're in it for the long haul, you let the power of compounding help you. It's much easier to achieve your goals that way. When you're talking about it, I'm just hearing all these parallels, which is just a trip. Go ahead.
It's a fantastic analogy. It is a great analogy for sure. I mean, and to just back that up with the fact that health and wellness is important, because if you're going to put in all that work to amass your fortune, wouldn't you want to be around to enjoy it? I know individuals that are more concerned about just making money and building this wealth, but then they die young, or they're gonna die young. So it's important to find the balance. Make sure that you're staying committed to those investments, but stay committed to yourself. You're your best investment, and you've got to take care of yourself. Otherwise, you are not going to be around to enjoy the fruits of your diligence and your investments. Mm-hmm. So definitely take care of yourself, both mentally and physically, and those go hand in hand. They go hand in hand. So it's very important.
No, 100%. Now you mentioned your next sort of venture is going to be, getting back into the real estate investing market. If we fast forward a few years, let's say you're probably getting close to retirement age. No, I'm not making any comments on the way you look, Justus. You look amazing. I'm just, there you go. I'm just saying, you've been on the job for a long time. You have to be nearing retirement age. So if we fast forward a couple of years, what does a successful retirement look like for you?
Yes, I'm getting old. I'm going to be dropping in 6 months. I turned 50 in 6 months. I kind of leap of faith here. I'm going to be moving out of state. I'm getting out of California, moving to Arizona. I'm going to be doing the commute for the last 5 years of my career. I'm going to do 5 years in the drop. And my brother's a home builder out there. He's a custom home builder. So I'm going to be partnering with him and doing custom built homes and just a lot of stuff. We do flipper homes, and I'm looking to invest in the Midwest as well. I'm excited about that. I'm just studying up and learning on that. So I want to just have I've always believed in diversity for sure. I mean, to have a diverse portfolio. I've never, ever wanted to just rely on the fire service. It's an incredible blessing, the career that I've had and my retirement. But from a very young age, I knew that I couldn't just rely on that. So I always wanted to fill these other buckets basically all around me. That way, when I'm in retirement, I can pull from all these buckets and not rely on one bucket. Retirement for me, I kind of have a soft retirement and a hard retirement. So when I leave at 55, that's too young just to go play golf and to do nothing. I am going to play a lot of golf, and I'm going to do a lot of traveling, and I'm going to enjoy it. But both my wife and I, we want to have a business, and we've talked about it for 30 years. Ever since I first took her out on one of our first dates, I took her to a bed and breakfast in Tombstone, Arizona. And we've been talking about wanting to own some sort of, bed and breakfast type / health and wellness retreat for many years. And so our plan is to move up to the Pacific Northwest and run a business because we want to, not because we have to. And that's the big difference. So that'll be hopefully from 55 to 65. And then the hard retirement will probably kick in. That's when I'm going to just do nothing, but just relax and travel and maybe teach and educate or whatever. I believe that you always need to be doing something. This whole mindset is very rare with other people around the world. It's kind of like a United States thing that, I need to retire and just move out to my, little community and just do what, you have to stay connected both mentally and physically, or you'll go downhill quick. So I plan to stay active.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't be surprised by that at all. I'm not surprised by that answer. Just based on everything I've heard you talk about in terms of where you commit the most amount of energy, right? You're committed to the health and wellness piece. I'm not surprised in the least that you would go and open a bed and breakfast with that in mind, to not only to keep your mind active, but to keep you active. I have no intention of retiring and then, like you said, just going and doing nothing the rest of my life. My whole goal in all of this, me planning for my retirement, what retirement looks like for me is doing the things that I want because I enjoy it, having the financial freedom to be able to do those things. And whether it's starting a business or whether it's continuing to make passive income from real estate or whatever, I want to have the freedom to be able to do that. But you have to start sooner rather than later to know what that end is supposed to look like. You talked real quick, Justus. I want to circle back on something. You mentioned the drop. For people not from San Diego that don't know what the drop is, can you just fill them in for that?
Yeah, I almost don't like talking about it because, unfortunately in San Diego now, we are kind of a divided workforce. We're very divided, unfortunately, because not everybody has the drop now. We used to be able to sit around the firehouse and talk about our finances, but now I really don't like to, because the person across the table from me might not have the drop, or they might not have a pension or things like that. And that's probably a whole nother conversation for a whole nother, interview. But what the drop is, and I am blessed to have it, it's a deferred retirement options program that allows me to actually, quote unquote, retire, but stay on the job. So at age 50 is the youngest that you can enter into this drop program. And I think there's also 50 with so many years on the job. I can't remember all the details, but basically if you qualify, then you could enter the drop. You can sign up for up to 5 years You can't stay longer than 5 years. We've had people try to sue to stay longer, but it didn't work. Um, so most people sign up for the full 5. Doesn't mean you have to stay the full 5. If I choose to leave after year 1 in the drop, I can. The nice thing about the drop is they're going to pay me my full salary while I'm there. But in addition to that, all the money that would normally be going into financing my pension is going to be going into this drop account. It's a separate little side account that gets invested and just kind of snowballs and compounds over the hopefully the 5 years that I'm in the drop. And so with that being said, when I do finally separate service at age 55, I'll be able to, get my pension and all that, but then I'll have this drop account money, which is pretty substantial. It's a good chunk of change that I'll be able to then take with me into my retirement. So it's a great program, and I'm super excited to have it and super blessed to have it.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a fantastic program. It's unfortunate that it has gone away for newer members. I unfortunately, I don't see it coming back, but for those that do have it, it is a fantastic way to just kick off your retirement, and it's a well-deserved benefit. Just now looking back to your pro-B self, you came on when you joined the fire service when you're in your 20s. Looking back to that period of your life, is there something, if you could give that person a piece of advice to better prepare for what retirement looks like, is there anything you'd change?
One thing that comes to mind, and it's something that, so for example, I used to teach at the academy, and one of the things I would always do, I'd always start my class with, let's say I'm teaching SCBAs. I'd say, okay, before we get into the subject matter, I want everybody to take out a piece of paper and a pen, and I'm going to say some things, and you're going to write these things down. I'm not going to go into detail today, but you're going to call me after, or you're going to follow up on these things. And I used to love sharing information with these new kids, and I would talk about like physician of record, talk about purchase, service year buyback, not buying a big brand new truck. I'd had a whole list of things, right? And a lot of individuals came to me after the fact, and they were very appreciative. One example is a good buddy of mine. We actually went to high school together. Is Tony Tosca, another individual on the job that you, I'm sure, know, but others don't. Great guy, little weird, but a great guy. He listened to my advice, and he purchased 5 years for like $30,000. Crazy. So one thing that I would do if I could go back, I'd listen to my own advice, because I would preach it, but I never bought years. I always thought, whatever, I'm good enough, whatever. That would definitely help with the numbers in my exit plan. It's not a deal breaker or anything, but that would have been good. I would also, I'm trying, one thing, and I know a lot of individuals beat themselves up, especially when they're younger and they're starting their families. And I used to do the same thing. I used to always kind of get mad at myself, because I knew that I should be, investing more. I should be putting more into my 401k, more into my deferred comp. But the reality is, I had diapers to buy, and I had formula to buy, and I had family to build. And you have to find the balance. And I know early on, I would beat myself up. My advice to you is, if you're building that family, don't beat yourself up. Understand that, yes, you still have these responsibilities, but get creative and find ways to invest. You could do it, and the other thing is, honestly, I would tell myself to not worry about keeping up with the Joneses, because I went through a period like a lot of people do. I thought I needed that big truck. I thought I needed that big house with the big pool, right? I've finally gotten to a point in my life where I feel like I'm wise now, at least in regards to that. And you don't need that. It's a detriment. And it definitely hindered me. I could be so much further along if I hadn't done that. So now I'm in a process in my life where I'm trying to simplify. I'm downsizing, like our captain in Oregon. He had to hit the reset button, and that's what I've done. I'm getting rid of crap left and right, because it's not needed. And I still, after giving the talk to those individuals, our new recruits in the academy, I still can remember it well. They'd come into the firehouse, and they'd be super excited because they just pulled in their brand new Ford F-350. And I'd hear them say things like, well, I love this truck. It's incredible. I was going to buy a house, but I can't afford one now, but man, this truck is amazing. And I'm just like, did you just say that? And there's a lot of truth in the saying that some of life's hardest lessons can't be taught. We can tell them because we've been there, but unfortunately they're going to have to experience it for themselves. But please listen to Kyle, get the information, because if you can avoid making a lot of mistakes, you'll be so much further ahead in the long run. So minimize the mistakes you're going to make when it comes to your health, wellness, and finances. By listening to those that made the mistakes.
Yes, no, exactly. And that is the essence of the FIREhouse is trying to prevent the next generation of folks coming up from making the same mistakes that we did, and continuing that tradition of passing the information along. Right. And I want to add to that. It's like, there's no perfect time to start investing. Maybe you're a brand new probie. Maybe you're 6 months out from retirement. It's never too late, but you have to at least start. You have to at least allow that power of compounding interest to start somewhere, and while we can't change the past, we can start right here, right now, and change the future. But you have to start. And so I was reminded of two other books. Number one, The Millionaire Next Door. Don't get caught up worrying about what the Joneses are doing next door. That has nothing to do with your life. You worry about you. That's what you can control. And then the other one is a book called The Automatic Millionaire by David Bach. This was something that I was turned on to by one of our senior guys when I was new on the job, because I felt I was in the same position as you are, or you were, Justice, where I had young children at home I had to feed, I had to buy diapers, I had to provide for the family. And so I never felt like at the end of the month I had enough money left over. I always had more month than money at the end of that month. And so I never felt like I could invest anything until I read this book. And the whole premise of it is just set up an automatic deduction out of your paycheck before it ever even comes to the house, before you ever even get it. Set some money aside so that you don't even see it. And you wind up figuring out a way to make ends meet, even with that few dollars, taken out of your paycheck each month. And it wasn't much, but I've slowly started to build that over time. And hopefully when I'm sitting in your position in another several years, I can look back and have a nice nest egg to blast off from. So everything you're saying, it hits the nail on the head of the information and the message I'm trying to get out through this FIREhouse. And you will be happy to know that we just started a very brief financial literacy class at the Academy that talks about the exact same things that you're talking about to our guys way back when. Don't buy the big truck. Keep it simple. Don't worry about what others are doing, and get on the path at some point. And I think just with that, Justice, you got knocked on that first alarm. You absolutely nailed it.
Well, thank you. And yeah, I all the books you've mentioned, I've read them all, and they're definitely very important. And I think, for example, one thing that I will pass on that's really helped me out is when you finance a vehicle and you finally pay it off, right? In the earlier days, I would think of it incorrectly. I'd go, okay, I finally paid off this car. Well, that just freed up, $250. What can I do with that extra $250? Well, I could go buy something else. So that was poor thinking, obviously. So what I've done over the years now is when I pay off a vehicle, okay, I continue the payments. Okay, I continue to make the payments because I'm used to it, and they just keep going. And so now through the credit union, I think I've got like 6 cars that I'm still paying on that have been paid off for years. Some I don't even have anymore. Yeah. But it's a lot of money because I was used to it, and it just goes there. So little tricks, and you've heard of the latte factor in that book. He talks about that. So yeah, great reads. And I want to just throw back at you that I am super thankful for what you're doing, because what you're doing is so valuable. It is so valuable for these individuals. And it's quite a thing that you're doing here. And I appreciate it. And I know a lot of people do.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you saying that. It's the best way that I know of, Justice, to pay back the guys that put me under their wing when I was coming up, and just to now pay it forward to the next generation of folks, and just to continue that conversation going. Because like many of us, we didn't come from a financial background. We came on this job with no financial literacy, and it is up to us to help each other out, to navigate some treacherous waters at times, and without conversations like this from senior members that have been through the trenches and been through the grinder in some of these really tough financial times, that information gets lost. So I think it is incumbent upon us to continue that conversation going. And I just appreciate your time today. If somebody's looking to get in contact with you, had some more questions about either starting a small business or just getting down the path in general, is there someplace they could find you?
Absolutely. But before I get to that, there's one other thing that one other individual that I want to mention, because if I didn't, it would, I wouldn't be complete in this interview. Charles Osterhout. He is a great friend of mine. He's an engineer. He's actually my engineer at Station 40. Incredible guy. He was my right-hand man starting this CrossFit business. I mean, he was there on day one, kind of just as a member. And then he just grew into so much more than that. He was he ran my pro shop. He was one of my coaches. He was my guy that I would go to when I was getting ready to make a big decision. Hey, because here's why, and this is maybe a good individual that you can interview. He's ran a business for maybe 25 years or something. He's still running it. So he learned a lot, and I knew that. So I leaned on him a lot. So I didn't want to finish this interview without throwing props out to Charles. Awesome guy, and I'm very appreciative for all that he did for the business and for me over the years. I can be reached old school, just email. I'm not big into social media, so I don't have any of those things. Just first name, last name. So Justus Norgord and the number 1. It's JUSTUSNORGORD, the number 1 @gmail.com. And I would love for anybody to reach out to me, because I can talk and I've got a lot more information and things to share. And I would love to do that.
Yeah, you bet. 100%, Justus. I'll link to your email in the show notes. I will reach out to Charles and to get him on the show, because I know he does have a ton of information that we would love to have. So I want to just thank you again, Justus, for your time today. We're going to keep on fighting the good fight. We anxiously looking forward to what retirement looks like for you, but that's still a long way off, I guess. Thanks again.
Thank you.
All right, thanks again to Justus for meeting me here in the bullpen. Justus picked one of the worst times in recent economic history to start a small business, but he was able to succeed because he had a clear vision of what he wanted the end to look like, and he had a plan in place to execute it. I just absolutely love that. If you'd like to learn more about Justus, you can find him on his email at justusnorgord1@gmail.com. That's JUSTUSNORGORD, the number 1 @gmail.com. If you'd like to learn more about us, we're on Facebook at The FIREhouse. That's f.i.r.ehouse. On Instagram, the _fire_house. On LinkedIn, The FIREhouse Investors, or any place you listen to podcasts. If you learned something today and you'd like to hear more, please like, share, and subscribe. But no matter what you do, take this information, go out there, and get some. Station F.